Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. And there's a moment every political strategist dreams about, and that's the moment the results finally come in and you get to see that you won. But for most consultants, that moment is built on TV ads, talking heads, and spin cycles. But for our guest today, it's built on something far more old school, far more powerful, far more effective: the old-fashioned politics of knocking on doors. Joining me today is a good friend of this channel, the one and only Cliff Maloney. And if you're new to our channel and you haven't heard of Cliff yet, you're about to understand why the left has been terrified of this guy for years. Cliff is the CEO of Citizens Alliance and the founder of the Pennsylvania Chase, in my backyard here, the ground game machine that deployed 120 full-time ballot chasers to knock on over 510,000 doors in Pennsylvania in 2024, boosting Republican mail-in votes from 20% all the way to 35%, and helping deliver Donald Trump the one state he absolutely needed to win the White House. He's been called the godfather of door knocking. He's knocked on over 8 million doors across the country. He's helped elect more than 400 conservative state legislators. And his motto is as simple as it's devastating: doors win wars. And now he's written this book that the left hopes you never read. It's called Run Right, a complete election playbook to win. And that's key. It's not a think piece. It's not a motivational speech. It's a field manual, a step-by-step operational guide to building campaigns, chasing ballots, and winning elections, from school boards all the way to the presidency, the White House itself. So if you're serious about fighting back, especially for the midterms, putting conservatives in power and turning your values into actual policy, I'm telling you, this is the most important book you'll read all year. Cliff, my friend, I haven't talked to you in so long. It's so awesome to chat with you. Welcome back to the channel, man.
Thanks for having me, Doc. Appreciate you.
Well, congratulations on the book. It's awesome. Is this your first book? I don't know if you've written a book before.
This is my first one. It's funny because so many people say, Cliff, aren't you worried about the left, learning all of your secrets? I'm like, listen, the left has hundreds of books. They're all public. We can read them. All their strategies are out there. So then all the people on the left read it and they win. So This is the first time I'm putting it out there because I want patriots to learn from the lessons, learn from the mistakes I made, so you don't have to make them. So the whole point of the book is for people that want to run, they want to win, and they want to stay principled. That's the key.
I love it. Before we get into this book, again, it's Run Right, a complete election playbook to win. It's absolutely brilliant. I do want to go back to a little bit of your origin story, of where it all started, because you described at one point how in 2020, Biden won Pennsylvania by 80,000 votes. I remember you telling me this. I think it's probably our first interview together, and we've done, I don't know, a dozen or so since then. But Biden wins Pennsylvania by 80,000 votes. But then you give me a stat of 141 Pennsylvania Republicans had already requested mail-in ballots, but they never sent them back. And then when you saw that number, what went through your mind? How did that become the spark for everything you've built?
Well, to be fair, that number was given to me by Charlie Kirk and Tyler Boyer at Turning Point, because at that moment, and I think I told the story on the show, but that was kind of the reason why we launched the Pennsylvania Chase. Was they approached me and said, look, they said, we're doing Arizona and Wisconsin. This is Turning Point, for a full-fledged ground game. They said, Pennsylvania, the White House and Trump and his team, they really want to see something firm in Pennsylvania. And so when they were trying to convince me, the moment that you reacted that way was the same way I reacted, which was when Charlie and his team said, Cliff, listen, 80,000 votes is allegedly what Biden won Pennsylvania by in 2020. 141,000 Republicans went through the process of requesting a mail-in ballot, got the ballot sent to their house. They never voted. Wow. And that was, it's a great question, Steve, because that was the moment where I said, wow, this is what needs to change.
Right.
This is the missing piece. It's not the television ads. It's not the messaging. It's not the texts or the digital ads or the mailers. We have to do what the Democrats do, which is go door to door and pound on the door of these people that have these mail-in ballots and get them to send it back. In 2024, we had more ballots out, but only 60,000 that didn't return, which is still too high. But we went from 141 to 60,000.
Wow.
We got to continue to lower that every single election cycle to get as many of them back.
And what I love about this book is it's not, I mean, you are a very principled fellow. There's no question about that. But you're not so much interested in ideas or ideology or issues. You're interested in infrastructure. You're interested in the very process by which elections play out. And so you argue in many respects that you kind of learn that from the left. The left doesn't win because their ideas are better. They win because they organize better. And for decades, conservatives obviously have had better polling numbers, better policies, better candidates in many races, but they still lose. So walk us through exactly what the left is doing in the field, as it were, that the right has just been completely oblivious to.
Well, one of my mentors, Morton Blackwell, one of his principles is political technology is ideologically neutral, right? And that's exactly what you just said, Dr. Steve, where it's like, it's not even about the ideas, the technology or the tactics, if you will, right? Like what you're doing for strategy to win has nothing to do with your ideology. Now, people can argue, oh, well, the message and who you're talking, sure, some of that. But that's why I take some of the left's best ideas. And so to answer your question directly, what is the left doing? The left understands, or at least understood, that by expanding the time that you can vote, it will allow for a lot more what we call low propensity voters, people that are unlikely to vote. It makes it easier for them to vote. So they took a bet that if they changed these rules, Republicans would fight it and Republicans wouldn't take advantage of it. And for a while, they were right. 2020 through 2023, Republicans kind of, I mean, I was one of them, right? You were one. We all were. We all said, no. We don't trust it. Let's vote at the polls. But then we kind of realized after the 2023 bloodbath and some of these off-year elections, like we gotta fight fire with fire. We gotta play this game. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Talk about a lot in the book is just to understand the rules have changed. In Pennsylvania, let me give you a specific stat. November 3rd, 2026, this upcoming November, midterm election, we have 3 swing congressional districts. We won all 3 of them in 2024. All 3 of them are pretty much, we're polling that we are not going to win them, right? I mean, it's close, but it's, we're down a point or 2 in each of them, just based on generic trends, right? In Pennsylvania, on November 3rd, if you just look at the data, 900,000 Republicans are expected to not vote.
Wow.
That's the rub, right? That is my whole focus. The Democrats, by the way, it's the same number, right? It might be like 850,000, right? Because a lot of their people are now high propensity because they get them a ballot every election, right?
Right.
So that's the rub. That's the whole focus is how do we get those 900,000 registered Republicans, right? They don't need convincing. They don't need persuaded. We don't need to message to them. We just got to get them to vote. So how do you get them to vote? We're knocking 750,000 doors this year in a midterm, right? We did 500,000 for president. Now we're saying, no, look, we got to step this up. So we're knocking 750,000 doors using the left's playbook, which I outline in my book for the right to get to those 900,000 people.
Right. It's brilliant. And you have the proof of concept from 2024. That's when we started working together. You raised, if I recall, $3 million. It was
$3 million.
And I've seen you raise more, brother. Since then, I'm like, wow, this guy's amazing. When we were down in Florida together, I was like, this guy is unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, you know how to do it. That's for sure. You hired 120 people. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
120. You set up, like Airbnbs around the state.
10 Airbnbs.
Yep. You set a specific public target. And I remember you explained it to me. Again, this is what I love about what you're all about numbers. You're all about infrastructure. You wanted to get Trump's mail-in percentage from the 20% that we saw in 2020. You wanted it up around 33%, if I recall, right? But you actually hit more than that. I think you hit about 35%. So take us inside that operation. What did your people actually say when they knocked on these doors, and why did it work? We had some of our Turley talkers come out with you and do that as well. And gang, I'm going to give you some information later on of how you can get in touch with Cliff and help him out what he's doing or getting involved. But yeah, walk us through a little bit of that proof of concept there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a wild ride, and I make sure I plug this, runrightbook.com, if folks do want to get a hold of the book, runrightbook.com. And Steve, I got to tell you, it's funny, you mentioned we had a couple of the folks from Turley Nation come out. There was a lot. We did a final sprint program in Central PA for Scott Perry, and I mean, I probably counted 15 or 20 people in the room that, hey, we saw you on Dr. Turley's show,
and cool.
We trust Steve, and we want to make a difference, and Scott Perry's a patriot. So, yeah, there's a lot of folks. It was a wild ride. I mean, look, there's a lot of things we learned. I'm not saying we did it wrong, but there were things that you learn when you do this for the first time. The first thing is we only ran the program like August through Election Day. And what I realized is the value in getting someone to request a mail-in ballot versus getting them to actually send it in. We found that out of the low propensity, if they got a ballot and we never talked to them, still 7 out of 10 of those people sent their ballot back.
Right.
So it's the request is very valuable. So how did we adjust for this year? We launched January 1, just like the left does, right? I always was wondering, like, why are they out there so early? Like, it's got to be diminishing returns. It's 11 months until the election. Well, now I understand, because if you get them to fill out the request form, they're almost, so many more of those people are going to vote just because they got the ballot.
Right.
So we're matching that. We've been in the 3 swing congressional districts since January. We are obviously helping Stacey Garrity, who's running against Josh Shapiro, but she's on every ballot. So it's like 2024. McCormick, Trump, all the statewide, they loved us, but they didn't care where we knocked, because every door we knocked on, they benefited, right? That's how Stacey is this year with the governor's race. So it's a lot of logistics. I mean, this is the part I don't think people understand. We have a staff of 40 individuals that are full-time W-2 employees, and obviously there's multiple states we're working in, but I'm just telling people, like, to hire 120 full-time people, and this year, by the way, we're looking to hire 150, just for the record, put it out there. And then we've got that. We're just scaling, as we get closer to it. But to hire 150 people, we're talking over 1,000 applications, right? And to get 1,000 applications, I mean, this is, it's a logistical nightmare, but it's a challenge the left does. So we have to match it. We have to do it, to interview those folks, to book the Airbnbs, to book the hotels that we'll put our volunteers in for our final sprint program again this year, right? To manage folks, to run payroll, running payroll for 150 people that you onboarded, in the last month. Like, there's just so much of that I'm proud of my team. And we've come a long way. We've done this now for pretty much 10 years. We've built these programs. So we know the tricks to the trade, what makes it work, the incentive bonuses. Most important thing is quality control, right? I think a lot of people don't understand that, but it's like, listen, we have to fire people. And when I say that, I think people are like, oh my gosh, like, who are you hiring? It's like, no, we're running a company, right? We hire based on ideology. So a lot of our people are patriots, but if people don't perform, guess what? See you later. Right. Exactly. We have to have a good ROI. We have to have quality control. But I'd encourage all your listeners, come on out, see what it's like for yourself. We'll send volunteers out with our paid door knockers. They get to have the experience. They can kind of get trained up by some of these, 22-year-olds or training 60-year-olds, which is always great. But doorswinwars.com, if people want to get involved, if they want to sponsor a ballot chaser, if they want to come out, send us a note. If they have a weekend, they can come out and volunteer, or they want to come out for the final sprint. We're a big tent, right? As long as you're a patriot. So maybe not that big, depending on who you're talking to. But these programs are a bunch of fun, and it's exciting. One good conversation at the door makes, kind of everything you're doing, and realize the power of why we're out there.
And what's cool, what our audience should know too, is you're not going to neutral doors, as it were. You're going to doors of Republicans who requested a ballot, right? And you're making sure that they're sending it in. So it's not like you're going from door to door trying to convince people per se, right?
Yeah, and there's two phases. I always like to make this as clear as I can. The first phase being you're going to the door with a request form and you're targeting a low propensity Republican, right?
Right.
Register Republican that's not likely to vote. That 900,000 universe of people in Pennsylvania that I mentioned that are registered Republican but not likely to vote. That's phase one. Here's a request form. I need you to sign it and write down your driver's license number. And we can take those, Steve, just to be clear. We can touch them. We can pre-fill them out. Once they sign it, we can take it. We get it to the county office. That gets a ballot sent to them. That's phase one. Phase two, we've got 67 counties in Pennsylvania. All of them send out their ballots at whenever they want. It's utter bedlam, but we like that. I'm not trying to centralize power. But whenever the ballots hit, phase two begins, which is our whole universe shifts, not with the low propensities, any Republican that has a ballot. That's phase two. We go to the door. We cannot touch the ballot. We cannot fill out the ballot. We cannot handle it whatsoever. But we can encourage them. It's a reminder campaign. And to me, you'd laugh at how many people's doors we go to that have a Trump sign in their yard.
Yeah.
They have a Trump hat on when they answer the door, and they voted in one of the last 4 presidential elections.
It's crazy, man. It is crazy. Welcome to American politics, right? I have my next question. I mean that you queued it up perfectly, segued into it. I mean, so explain to everyone. I think you really already are. Why good old fashioned traditional face-to-face contact is still the most powerful force in American politics. A lot of people think just a viral X post is enough. And, I think we've learned the hard way, particularly in 2022. No, it's not. Why do doors win wars?
So the best answer to that question is looking at the literature, right? There have been studies out there for years, even people on the left have put it out there. And once again, political technology, political strategy is ideologically neutral. So I don't mind looking to the left to understand what works and what doesn't work. So the numbers tell us that 1 out of every 9 conversations is a new vote. That's
wow.
Okay, well, how does that stack up against the other ways? Well, it takes 35 phone conversations. So let's think about that. Steve, how many times do you answer the phone when you get a call from a number you don't know? Nobody answers anymore.
Never.
And those studies are from 10 years ago.
Yeah, literally never. I never.
None of us pick up. So
I don't even pick up when you call me.
That's true. I struggle to get through. So I got to talk to Ralph to get to you. So right. the truth is, I don't even know how many calls you'd have to make to have 35 conversations. I mean, you're talking weeks of time to try to get 35 cold people on the phone. So I always tell people, when you look at all the different ways of electioneering, it really it is the most effective ROI. But here's the other thing. It's also the hardest electioneering to do. So it's great job security for me because a lot of people on the right, they'd rather just work with a TV ad buyer and somebody that does their creative, they build the ad, the TV ad, and that's it. They get their 15% commission. Who wants to deal with interviewing 800 people, right? Signing contracts, dealing with Airbnbs, dealing with gas cards, right? Like
right.
It's a logistical incentive to not get involved. But the other thing that I don't know how to numerically look at this, but I get this feel, and I believe it to be true. We are so oversaturated with the TV ads, with the mailers, with the tech. How many times a day do I respond with stop or unsub on a text message, right? Yeah. Putting a 22-year-old girl or a 22-year-old guy at somebody's door with a clipboard, a smiling face, and all they're saying is, hey, I know you're a patriot. I just want to figure out if you have a plan to vote. I want to remind you, here, fill out this form. It's an uplifting conversation. Even if it's I don't want to say a bad interaction, but even if it's quick. Oh, yeah. No, I got my ballot. I'm going to send it back. Thanks so much. Door closes. It's just that moment that it's real, right? It's not the 6 different mailers in your mailbox that are going directly in the trash can.
Right.
It's a real person. There's real momentum. And I think 2024 taught me this. There's power in authenticity.
Yeah.
We saw this with the hatred for Kamala and the love for Trump. We saw this with the long form podcast interviews that Trump and JD did that they refused to do. People want to be a little deeper. They want to be authentic. And someone at the door creates that experience.
Yeah, I love it. It's so awesome. Again, gang, the book is Run Right, a complete election playbook to win by our good friend Cliff Maloney. And is it Josh Lysick? You had a co-author as well. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah, Joshua Lysick. So just real quick to give a 30-second story on it. So me and Justin Grice, my COO, the joke is I raise the money, Justin spends it. He's got the much better part of the deal. But we sat with Joshua, who's a great author, New York Times bestselling anti-communist author, which Steve, you might want to start putting that in your title. I think that's awesome.
That's great.
But we sat with him for, a week, and we showed him our whole curriculum. We showed him our whole playbook. We showed him, we told him different stories, and then he kind of compiled it all, and then we went back and forth editing. It was a fascinating process. But it's exciting. I mean, there's a lot of random people that, are now reading it and they're giving me feedback, current electeds that are picking it up, say, hey, I never realized this is why that happened to me.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to, change it moving forward. But it's been a great experience. Runrightbook.com if folks want to get a copy.
Yeah, we'll have the link down below. So, all right. So here you go. Last question. Everyone watching this video has just clicked on that link. They're getting this wonderful book, and not just for yourself, get it for the patriots in your life. Make sure everyone knows the playbook on how to win the midterms and beyond. So they've done that. They've read through the book. They closed the last, the back cover. What do they do, Cliff? And they want to change the world. They want to get involved. What should they do?
All right. So number one, if you want to actually run for office, get a hold of me, cliffmaloney.com. Happy to talk to you, talk strategy, help you. And maybe it's not me, but I can point you to somebody else that can help put a plan together to run. Come to a campaign academy that we run. We'd love that. We're running them all the time across the country. It's a one-day training we do on Saturdays. So reach out once again if you want to figure out what our schedule is for that, cliffmaloney.com. And then look, the biggest ask I have to all of Turley Nation, and you guys saved us in 2024, we were going to have to pull at least 2 Airbnbs for the final 2 weeks.
Wow.
But folks stepped up to sponsor a ballot chaser. Mm-hmm. I have people on the ground right now in Pennsylvania in the 3 swing districts that, if my math is right, will likely decide control of the U.S. House. We need Airbnb sponsors. We need Gatorade sponsors. We need a full day of ballot chasing. $175. I've said this on your show before, Steve. I'll say it again. 100% of that money goes towards the ballot chasers' pay, housing, and gas cards. There's no commissions. There's no consultants. There's no money off the top. All of that goes to the ballot chaser. If folks want to do that specific to PA, phase.com, phase.com. They can sponsor a ballot chaser. It's one of the best ways. If you can't sponsor, come out to Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. We'll be running a program. We'll have free hotel rooms. That'll be run as we lead up probably in October. But keep an eye out for that. Get on our mailing list. Really, really have to say this, Dr. Steve. I appreciate you. All of Turley Nation, they've always taken care of us. And we're in this fight together. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Cliff. It's our honor, man. It's just awesome. And again, I loved watching the conference that we had in Palm Beach, and just Nick Shirley was there right after he just broke after he did the good speaking of good old fashioned on the beat reporting that the legacy media used to do, but of course have since relinquished since they became propagandists. And so we just had this amazing time. Jack Posobiec was there. It was incredible just watching this organization that you built, this national organization that you built, but yet that remains so incredibly local. So gang, look, the midterms have just started. They've started now. And this is the definitive playbook. This is the proven blueprint for victory. Again, the book is Run Right, a complete election playbook to win. It's not theory, it's practical. Available now wherever books are sold, but just click on that link below and you can get your copy. If you believe that principles without victories just stay abstract ideas, that the right needs to stop arguing online and start winning in the real world, this is your field manual. Get one for yourself, get one for all the patriots in your life. This is a real game changer, and that's why I support this book and I support Cliff with all my heart. So Cliff, it's always an honor. Let's have you back as we get closer to the midterms. We want to help you in any way that you can, but thank you so much for all the work you do out there, my friend.
I appreciate you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Cliff.